August Schmidhuber called it a complete success. In his daily command report, dated the 25th July 1944, the SS commander wrote with cold pride that the operation had engaged strong enemy forces and prevented the partisans from carrying out their plans. What he did not mention was that his men had just murdered 428 civilians in a single village. Mostly women, mostly children, mostly elderly, burned alive inside their homes. He would hang for it 3 years later. His 2,000 men would not even get a trial. But to understand what happened in that village, you have to go back. Before the massacre, before the report, to the moment the bombs first fell on Belgrade, the 6th of April 1941. The skies over Belgrade fill with hundreds of German aircraft. Bombs fall across the city. Nazi Germany launches its invasion of Yugoslavia. The operation is called Unternehmen Strafgericht. Operation Retribution. The goal is clear: secure the Balkans. Protect the southern flank before the attack on the Soviet Union begins. 19 German divisions, supported by Italian, Hungarian, and Bulgarian forces, crush Yugoslav resistance in just 11 days. After the surrender, local partisan forces continue the fight. The occupiers respond with a brutal reign of terror across the region. The Second World War had started on the 1st of September 1939 when Nazi Germany invaded Poland. When Germany's ally Italy failed to conquer Greece in late 1940 and early 1941, Germany became increasingly concerned about its southeastern flank. Greece's success in repelling Italian forces allowed its ally, Great Britain, to establish a foothold on the European continent. To subdue Greece and drive the British off the mainland, Nazis sought to bring Yugoslavia and Bulgaria into the Axis alliance, the military coalition led by Germany, Italy, and Japan. On the 25th of March 1941, Yugoslavia joined the Axis. They agreed to permit German troops to transit through their territory en route to Greece. The announcement was extremely unpopular in many parts of the country, particularly in Serbia and Montenegro. The Yugoslav government soon declared that it would not honor its obligations under the pact. Hitler was furious. Prime Minister General Dusan Simovic attempted to retract the statement within days. It did not matter. Hitler ordered the invasion of Yugoslavia on the evening of the 27th March. The invasion began on the 6th of April 1941. German, Italian, Hungarian, and Bulgarian forces crossed the borders. By 17th of April, the Yugoslav army had surrendered. The country was occupied and partitioned by the Axis powers. In the division of the conquered territory, Montenegro fell under fascist Italian control. When Italy surrendered in September 1943, German forces quickly moved in. They occupied the region. By late 1944, they were withdrawing under pressure from advancing Allied and partisan troops. In parts of Montenegro, some units of the Royalist Chetnik movement, a Serb nationalist group, collaborated with the Germans and Italians. In the north, groups of local ethnic Albanians and Bosnian Muslims also joined the occupiers. Some through an Albanian nationalist organization named Bali Kombatar, others through local Muslim militia units. In July 1944, the German army launched Operation Draufgänger. The name means daredevil. The target was Yugoslav partisans who had gained a foothold along the Lim River in northeastern Montenegro. The operation was concentrated around the small town of Andrijevica. German forces were joined by elements of the 21st Waffen Mountain Division of the SS Skanderbeg. The division was composed mostly of ethnic Albanians. Local auxiliary fighters joined them. As they advanced, they burned at least 16 villages. They killed several hundred inhabitants. The operation ended in a partisan victory, a military defeat for the Germans and their allies. And as reprisal, the occupiers decided to punish the civilian population of Velika. Velika was a small village near Andrijevica. It had no military value, no strategic importance. Just families, homes, children. The main perpetrators of what was about to happen were members of 2 SS divisions, the 7th SS Volunteer Mountain Division Prinz Eugen, and the 21st Waffen Mountain Division of the SS Skanderbeg. The Prinz Eugen Division was already infamous. Formed in 1941, its ranks were filled with ethnic German volunteers from Yugoslavia, Hungary, and Romania. Their brutality against civilians throughout the Balkans was well documented. The Skanderbeg Division, formed in Kosovo, was made up largely of ethnic Albanians who viewed the German occupation as a chance to pursue nationalist goals. Together, these forces turned their weapons on an unarmed population. On the morning of the 28th July 1944, the village of Velika was surrounded. The attackers moved from house to house. They set homes on fire. They killed anyone they found. Hundreds of civilians were murdered, mostly women, mostly children, mostly the elderly. Many were burned alive inside their homes. Survivors later described scenes that remain almost impossible to comprehend. Milunka Vucetic personally witnessed the murder of a 3-year-old child. His name was Tomislav Vucetic. He was playing in an olive grove. This is her account. I went toward the house of Milovan Vucetic. In the afternoon, soldiers from Ivan Polya entered the area. We decided to take them the bread and salt we had. When they approached, I saw little Tomislav, the son of Milovan Vucetic, playing in the olive grove. 2 soldiers grabbed him, and a third ran over. One of them took out a knife and began to skin the child alive from his eyes downward. I could not bear to watch. I started screaming, and his mother, Lepasava, ran to protect him, but they killed her. Another survivor, Radoya Knezhevich, was 11 years old that day. She remembered the divisions by name. I was only 11 years old when Hitler's divisions, Skanderbeg and Prinz Eugen, burned down the village of Velika and killed hundreds of civilians. My family paid a heavy price that day. My mother, Stojanka, was killed, and her body burned. The same fate befell my 2 brothers, one aged 5 and the other just 11 months old. My sister Raba, who was 18, was killed as she tried to protect them. She too was burned. Divna Vucetic tried to protect her children. She could not. This is her testimony. I heard about massacres in the nearby villages, so I became afraid for the safety of my children. I sent my 2 eldest into the woods and held my 1-year-old son, Boja, in my lap. At the doorway came my daughter Persida, who was only 3 years old, followed by my 2 nieces, 4-year-old Kata and 3-year-old Nata, and my daughters Keve and Dushana Vucetic. A soldier approached with a gun. I told him that I wanted to bring him bread, as I had been ordered to. He replied, "Germany has bread." He spoke our language perfectly. Then he shot me, killing my son in my arms and wounding me in the hand. Massacre lasted for nearly 2 hours. When the killing ended, the village of Velika lay in ruins. A total of about 428 civilians were murdered. Entire families were wiped out in a single day. Despite the scale of the atrocity, German military reports described the operation as a success. In his daily command report, dated the 25th July 1944, August Schmidhuber, commander of the Skanderbeg Division, wrote with cold pride, "Operation Draufgänger was completely successful. It engaged strong enemy forces and prevented the partisan leadership from carrying out their planned operations. The army expressed its appreciation for the efforts of the participating troops and their commanders." He did not mention Velika. He did not mention the 428 dead. He did not mention the children. But this massacre was not forgotten, and justice, or even revenge, would eventually catch up with the perpetrators. Among them were the men of the 21st SS Skanderbeg Division. Their collapse began only months later. After just 6 months of existence, the 21st SS Skanderbeg Division was falling apart, plagued by mass desertions, poor combat performance, a record of atrocities. It was officially disbanded on the 1st of November 1944 by Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS. August Schmidhuber placed the blame on the Albanian soldiers under his command. He stated bitterly that during the attack, the soldier goes only as far as he finds something to steal or sack. Despite this failure, Schmidhuber was promoted. In January 1945, he became SS Brigadeführer und Generalmajor der Waffen-SS, the rank equivalent to brigadier general in the U.S. Army. That same month as the German army retreated from Albania, he replaced Otto Kumm as commander of the 7th SS Volunteer Mountain Division Prinz Eugen. The remaining German and ethnic German elements of the Skanderbeg Division were absorbed into his new unit. The division was given the honorific title Skanderbeg in memory of its predecessor. Under Schmidhuber's command, Prinz Eugen continued to commit war crimes, particularly in the cities of Split and Dubrovnik in present-day Croatia. As part of Army Group F, the division fought desperate rearguard actions against Yugoslav partisans and Soviet forces. The Second World War ended on the 8th of May 1945. On the 11th of May, Schmidhuber was captured by Yugoslav partisans. He was handed over to the authorities in Belgrade. A Yugoslav military tribunal tried him on charges of participating in massacres, deportations, and atrocities against civilians. The verdict was death by hanging. He was executed in February 1947 in Belgrade. Schmidhuber's execution brought an end to his own story, but at least he was tried before a military tribunal. His men ended up far worse. In the final weeks of the war, the remnants of the 7th SS Volunteer Mountain Division Prinz Eugen retreated north through Bosnia and Croatia. They were trying to reach Austria, trying to surrender to the Western Allies. On the 10th of May 1945, they reached the Slovenian town of Celje. The following day, they laid down their arms before units of the Yugoslav People's Army. 3 days after Germany's capitulation, all personnel of the Prinz Eugen Division taken prisoner by the Yugoslav Army were then killed. Most were executed wholesale, without trial, disposed of through various methods immediately after their surrender. The killings were ordered by local Yugoslav commanders. They apparently acted in direct violation of Marshal Tito's instructions to detain the captives in prison camps and screen them for war criminals. The orders were never punished. In 2010, a large mass grave was uncovered near the Slovenian village of Brežice. Inside were the remains of around 2,000 Prinz Eugen soldiers. They had been stripped naked, bound together with telephone wire, shot. Their bodies were buried in a trench during a summary mass execution on the 22nd May 1945. Many of the soldiers' relatives later perished during the expulsion and killing of German-speaking civilians across Eastern Europe. The accounts had been settled, but the numbers tell a story that is difficult to absorb. It is estimated that during the Second World War, around 1.2 million people were killed in Yugoslavia. Of those, approximately 581,000 were civilians. In Velika, 428 were murdered in a single morning. Mostly women, mostly children, mostly the elderly. In Slovenia, around 2,000 soldiers of the Prinz Eugen Division were stripped, bound, and shot into a trench. The commander who called the massacre a complete success was tried and hanged. His men received no trial at all. The mathematics of retribution seem clean on paper. 428 murdered, 2,000 executed. The ledger appears balanced. But the numbers do not capture everything. They do not capture the 3-year-old boy playing in an olive grove. They do not capture the mother shot while holding her infant son. They do not capture the 18-year-old sister who burned trying to protect her brothers. And they do not capture the 2,000 men stripped and bound and shot without a word of defense. Both groups died in terror. Both groups left behind families. Both groups were buried in unmarked ground before the world moved on. The executions of the Prinz Eugen soldiers were never punished. Local Yugoslav commanders gave the orders. They acted in direct violation of Tito's instructions. No one faced consequences. In some accounts, the killings are described as justice. In others, as revenge. In still others, as a war crime committed by the victors. The truth does not fit neatly into any single category. What is certain is that the men who burned Velika never stood before a tribunal. They were simply erased. Their bodies dumped in a trench and forgotten until a mass grave was uncovered 65 years later. And Schmidhuber? He faced a court, he heard the charges, he received a sentence, he was hanged. Formal justice was served in his case. But the question lingers. Was it justice because he was tried, or was it justice because he died? If the trial had ended in acquittal, would the partisans have let him walk free? Or would he have been stripped and bound and shot like his men? No one can answer that. The tribunal found him guilty. The sentence was death. The outcome was the same as the men in the trench. Only the process was different. The massacre at Velika was not the largest atrocity of the war. It was not even the largest in Yugoslavia. But it contains within it the entire moral complexity of how the war ended. Civilians murdered by soldiers. Soldiers executed by partisans, a commander tried and hanged. No one left clean. No one left innocent. Only the dead and the arithmetic remain. 428 in one village, 2,000 in one trench, 1.2 million across the whole country. The numbers do not tell you who was right. They only tell you who was left standing. And here's what no one wants to ask. When the partisans stripped those 2,000 men and bound them with telephone wire and shot them into a trench, were they delivering justice? Or were they becoming what they had fought against? The Germans had burned villages, killed civilians, skinned children alive. They documented their crimes with cold pride, calling massacres complete successes. The partisans did not document theirs. They buried the evidence and moved on. The mass grave near Brežice was not meant to be found. Both sides believed they were right. Both sides had blood on their hands. And the only difference between the ledger of the victors and the ledger of the defeated is who got to write the history. The Second World War ended in 1945, but the questions it left behind have never been answered. How do you measure justice when both sides have committed atrocities? When does retribution cross the line into revenge? And when the last witness is dead and the last grave is uncovered, who gets to decide what was justified? The men who burned Velika are gone. The men who executed them are gone. The villagers who survived are gone. The commanders who gave the orders are gone. All that remains is the arithmetic. 428 dead in a village, 2,000 dead in a trench. And a question that no historian can answer. Was the debt ever really paid?